from the director of Time Bandits and Brazil, a new movie full of noise.
At first glance, you might think that The Adventures of Baron Munchausen belongs in the same category as movies like Waterworld and Ishtar, as far as being a flop, but you should also look a little bit closer and see that it belongs under a category that goes along with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Brazil, Brothers Grimm. The Adventures of Baron Munchausen is a movie by Terry Gilliam, one of my favorite directors. It was regarded once as one of the biggest flops in movie history. It was supposed to be made for $24 million, wound up being made for $42 million. And of course, its reception, critical reception, and audience reception was terrible. Although, after a certain amount of time, it developed a cult status. Now, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies. It's way old, and how did it slip under the radar? I have no idea.
Well, most good things do slip under the radar like that. Like, I just watched it for the first time to review it, and I like to consider myself in the know, you know, and it's one of those things I just never got around to seeing, and I kind of kick myself for it now because it is really, really good. Mm-hmm. You know, Terry Gilliam is in a league of his own when it comes to movies. Not saying he's the best director ever, you know, because that's a strong statement, but visually, he's probably one of the most creative directors working. He has a vision and he goes for it.
Well, yeah, you can see, like, I mean, when you hear that it went way over budget, nobody's surprised. You look up on the screen, it's all up there. The whole city's been blown to bits. Front to back of the whole frame is all full of something happening. You know, whether something's exploding or on fire or broken, or there's like a horse's head that people are cooking their dinner inside of. All of it goes up there. So yeah, I mean, he's a very thorough filmmaker. He likes to get it all. He likes to project as much as possible.
The one thing that I really do like about this movie is that it's like, in its essence, it's a kid's tale. Like, it was made for children, but it's accessible for everyone, from kids to adults, because it's a Terry Gilliam movie. And the way he goes about it, he attacks it from a different angle than you normally would. For starting off with actors telling the story of Baron Munchausen in the late 18th century, and then having the Baron appear as an old man to this play, and then the old Baron goes off on an adventure to try and stop the war, and while doing that, he ends up going on all the adventures that they're talking about in the play. So it's this really multi-leveled narrative going on, and the characters that are in the play are actually characters from the Baron's life, and it goes all over the place, but it makes perfect sense. You're never confused and like, what's going on now? Because it is a fantasy, so you have to kind of let it go.
3 knots!
Well, I really dug that whole fact that the cast member, well, I guess they're cast members, but the cast members of the play are also players in the fantasy and in the stories. And so what you're getting is this sort of, there's a Wizard of Oz quality to it, because, you know, and you were there, and you were there, and so were you. You know, so Jack Purvis is all over the place, and Eric Idle is all over the place. And that, I mean, that's great, because you get, that multi-dimensionality of it.
Here, tie this to the end of it.
Where'd you get this from?
I cut it from the top.
From the top?
Naturally, where else do you think I get it from?
What we have here is a movie that didn't do so well at first, came up with the cult status now, and I mean it's a testament to how it grew into its fame and into its popularity, because it's out now for this 20th anniversary edition, which, as far as I'm concerned, for somebody who owned the original DVD release, is an improvement in every way. I mean, now it's in 5.1. Before it was only in 2.0. So it's in 5.1 mix. It's got a director's commentary finally. And as far as special features goes, it's got more than just an interactive menu. Now it's got like a full documentary making of. It's got some deleted scenes, which I gotta say, I didn't even have time to watch them before I did the review. I'm psyched.
The one thing I really do like about the special features and the making of documentary is that it wasn't done at the time of the movie, which it tends to skew people's perspective on the film they're making because they're in it, so they think it's going to be the best thing ever. I like the making of documentaries when they go back to look at it as a retrospective, so you can talk about all the flaws that it did have, but also the pros. And you get a more unbiased opinion because you get to see where the movie has landed, not only within the director's canon of work, but within film history in general. So you know if it's a good or bad movie 20 years later. You can't delude yourself into thinking it's the best thing ever, because you know by now that you've done either better work or worse work, or people have vilified it or loved it. So that to me makes it a more enjoyable documentary to watch.
Hello.
The Baron Munchausen 20th Anniversary Edition comes in a 5.1 mix. Apparently it was remastered in HD, whatever that means. And it's got a commentary, a 3-part documentary, storyboard sequences, and deleted scenes.
I'm Baron Munchausen. That sounds nasty. Is it contagious?
Due to the fact that it actually is already in my collection, I'm just going to have to come out and say that it's a keeper.
It's hard to be a fan of film and not appreciate Terry Gilliam's work, so Baron Munchausen is definitely a keeper.